We are live. Get an echo from you. I think it's
I hear you as an echo.
Yeah, I just muted my laptop.
Okay. All right. I think we're good here. Can we get still get an echo from you, Taz?
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Yeah, I
task
get an
is
echo on
fine.
my own voice.
Task is fine, you're not, which means the echo is coming from task though, because we're hearing you twice. Which I should be echoing also then. Am I echoing?
I don't hear you echo.
I don't hear an echo on you, Cal.
I think the echo is coming from you, Taz. Can you mute either the restream or the X space?
I don't. You mean my volume?
Yeah. You like your incoming volume from one of the two.
I'm on mute on the laptop on Restream, so there's nothing coming out of it.
All right. Well, the problem is if you're listening on the space, but don't have headphones in,
I got
it's coming through
headphones.
your mic on the Restream.
Is that better?
Testing.
Yeah. No echo.
Testing 1 2.
No echo. All right. Mic check on task.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
All right. You're good. Mitch, mic check.
The cat in the hat wants to stack all the Leos.
I think you're muted on the space.
Boom. Oh yeah, you let me in. We should be unmuted on spaces now.
I don't hear them. I don't hear them either.
Hold on, let me check my mic because it keeps defaulting. No, it's on the right one. That's not good. How about now? Nope. Hold on. Now we should be good.
All right.
It's good now, right?
Yeah, how bad all the screens have been moved. Good. You guys can let us know in the Threadcast if you see any issues with the audio, whether you're listening on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, or whatever. Just post in the Threadcast if something's not working, and we'll get it fixed.
Task sounds like he's power walking.
I think he's probably outside.
That's hence the joke.
That's funny. Tass, do you mind just muting when you're not talking on the restream too? It's going to be a little tough, but there we go. All right, thank you. Cool. And like I said, I was telling the guys pre-show. Thanks, Patriot. Patriot gave us a thumbs up. Looks like we're good on X Spaces at least. All right, yeah. Let me. I'll tell you guys the format, and like I said, if you hear any issues, just let us know. Thumbs down the space or post in the Threadcast if there's an issue with the audio. So thanks with the Coke. So the format's going to be, about 15 minutes or so. I'm just going to run through kind of quickly the, all the 2.0 changes. So I'll give you guys, kind of the rundown of, what 2.0 is, what Leo is, what LeoDex is, what Inlio is, all of the things, because there are a lot of people that are new. So, we obviously have our existing community coming into this. And then, we've got a lot of new community members and faces, especially from the cross-chain space. So good. It's a good time to kind of refresh on, who Leo is, because we kind of jumped into this cross-chain space, head first, and then people are wondering, where we kind of came from. And we've obviously been in the crypto industry for quite a while. So, we'll give our background as a team and community, and then I'll talk about the 2.0 changes and how they impact everything from Inlio to LeoDex and down to the token and all the bridges and everything. We've been building for so long, and we have so many different apps and things. So very, very important that we get get the full rundown. So let me try to roll through this. And by the way, once we jump off of this, the blog post for Leo 2.0 will go live. So if you want to like read through everything, take your time with it, see all the changes, in written format, you'll be able to do that from the main blog account. So let's kick this off. Let's see here on the space. There we go. All right. So I've got the master doc in front of me, which is what I'm calling it, aka the blog post announcing all these changes. But just to give the kind of brief overview, and then again go through it yourself if you want all the juicy details. So kind of starting with what Leo is and our apps. Leo started on July 3rd, 2019. So we've been around for almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in about 2 weeks. So over those 6 years, we've built a handful of apps. Well over a dozen apps at this point. Ranging from mobile apps to apps for other ecosystems to bridging apps, bridging tech, DeFi, all of the things. We've been through many cycles and built a lot of things. So the flagship app, though, over the last 6 years has always been Inlio.io. So Inlio is a social media app, and today it resembles a lot like X. So you have short form content. That's kind of the main page, and then you've got blogging and shorts, creator subscriptions, and a whole lot of other features as well. Make sure this is not echoing for you guys. So we've got Inlio. We've been building it, and we've been constantly iterating and building a better and better version. And today Inlio's in a really great spot. We've got a ton of features. The platform is refined. And to be honest, it's time for our ecosystem to kind of evolve. And the mission statement of Leo, ever since 2019, was to democratize financial knowledge and access. And I like to say that Inlio is, the app that we built to democratize financial knowledge. And now LeoDex is us fulfilling the second piece of our mission, which is to democratize financial access. So access to finance, depending on where you live in the world, can be very different. So, I'm a huge believer in decentralized exchanges. I'm a huge believer in, cross-chain trading. And obviously I've been a huge believer in DeFi over the years. I just find, this to be a critical part of the crypto industry. And, the kind of weakest link in crypto right now is centralized exchanges. And, seeing DEXs and cross-chain DEXs proliferate is really important to me because of this access to finance part of things. So basically in April of this year, we started focusing heavily on LeoDex. So I'm very happy with the state of Inlio in terms of the platform. I think it's in a really, kind of saturated and good state. Like it's, in terms of features, we're super feature rich. Like I would say we have the majority and possibly more features than X itself. And all of that with a relatively small team and community, compared to the thousands of people that are working on X every day. And then obviously the billions of, I don't know if they're over a billion yet, but let's call it hundreds of millions of users that X has. So, with that relative scale and us kind of shifting our focus, I think LeoDex, deserves to have the Leo token kind of evolve to work more synergistically. And I like to say that this Leo 2.0, launch is really aimed at aligning, value and incentives. So right now, the incentives for holding Leo and really using Leo or doing anything with the token is all aimed at Inlio, and that's because LeoDex obviously didn't exist until pretty recently. So, it's time to evolve those tokenomics and create an environment where LeoDex and Inlio can not only operate, well together, but actually be very synergistic and create an economy that grows. So for the past 6 years, we've had the Leo token economy. Many of you who are existing, Leo users and token holders know this. We've had the Leo token economy. We've had a rewards pool model where if you were a social media user on Inlio, you got paid Leo tokens every single day when you used the platform. So that's kind of how we seeded our growth and spread out the token over the past 6 years. And, we've got, I think, well over 10,000 wallets holding Leo now, across, obviously Hive Engine and Polygon and BSC, and then Arbitrum more recently. So, we've got a pretty diverse holder base, and there's no VCs, there's no designated, team fund, and Leo has been a completely fair launch. It's back in 2019, it launched as a social media app. People could use it, and you could earn Leo. And over the years, Leo's been distributed every single day for the past 6 years, and really has spread to people that believe in the platform. And obviously, if you don't believe in the platform, you've been able to just earn it and sell it. So that makes its way into stronger hands ultimately over time. So we've created a nice holder base. We've done so without any VCs, without any token locks and things like that. So that's created a nice environment for kind of the launch of a fair token. What we've had over the past 6 years is an emissions rate, which, in other words, is inflation. So the way that people earned Leo on Inlio, up until 2.0, and we can call this Leo 1.0, which is the past 6 years, was through inflation. So basically a preset amount of Leo was created every single block. And every block that Leo that was created or mined, if you will, was then moved into a rewards pool for Inlio users. And it was split 50-50 between authors and curators. So authors are people that, post content on the blockchain, and curators are people that upvote content on the blockchain. So that's how we've worked for the past 6 years. With Leo 2.0, we are stopping inflation. And, so we're setting block rewards to 0, which means no new inflation. And then, but other than that, in terms of an Inlio user, everything stays the same. You still curate content, and you still create content, and you still earn Leo. So we'll get into how you still earn Leo, despite there being no inflation, in a second here. The goal with this change, again, is like we've spent 6 years spreading our token out. This has been a really good way to do a fair launch. But Leo has evolved a lot over these past 6 years, and our tokenomics are a little bit outdated. They are only made really for the social media side of things. So, setting the emissions rate to 0 and just, focusing on LeoDex, and then obviously growing, both Inlio and LeoDex together, is our focus now. And by the way, I haven't changed the docs. So if you go to docs.inleo.io and then look for the tokenomics section, I haven't changed those yet. And I want to leave them like that for a little bit. They show you the original tokenomics of Leo. So the tokenomics that we launched with essentially 6 years ago. And if you go to those docs and you read through, you'll actually see, and I haven't edited anything recently in there, you'll actually see that much of this 2.0 change was actually outlined in those docs. This was always the plan, and I put this in the master doc or the blog post that's going to come out today. Much of these changes were designed from the beginning. This was always meant to happen, where we would switch to a 0 emissions rate environment. There was a max supply of Leo that was 50 million Leo tokens, and once that 50 million Leo was hit, it was always intended that inflation would be 0, because obviously you're not going to go beyond 50 million. So what we're actually doing with 2.0 is accelerating the roadmap for going to a 0 emission economy. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Obviously, we've learned a lot of things over the last 6 years. And like I said, it's worth it to reevaluate what we've done, what we've built, and what we are building right now with LeoDex. So we're basically accelerating the plan in terms of inflation and how Inlio works. Speaking of that, let me dive into how Inlio will work, in a 2.0 era. So in Leo 1.0, like I mentioned, Inlio users earn from inflation, and there's a 50-50 split when you create a blog post and someone curates it, with their upvote, which is essentially like a like button on other social media platforms. They get 50% of the Leo that they distribute, and you get the other 50% as the author. That does not change in Leo 2.0. In Leo 2.0, we're releasing something called the SIRP, SIRP, which stands for System Income Rewards Pool. So again, if you look at the old docs, which I've left live, you can actually see that the SIRP is written in there. It's literally something that was supposed to be launched and built, and the timeline for that was more like in the 2030s, when inflation would end for Leo. So we're just accelerating that. which I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited about. We're just accelerating that. And instead of like 2036 or whatever's outlined in those docs that was estimated for when this would go live, it's 2025. So the SERP earns revenue from the various mechanisms on Inlio. So you guys know there's a handful of mechanisms on Inlio that generate revenue. Probably the number one, the main one is premium. So you can go premium on Inlio, very similar to how it works on X. And you pay $10 a month in stable coins, and you get access to premium features. You also get curated more and earn more rewards, etc. But that is the number one driver of revenue. So you've got premium revenue, then you've got creator subscriptions revenue, which creator subs is essentially like a Substack application that we built on top of Inlio. So you can subscribe to other creators on Inlio and get exclusive access to certain content that they may want to paywall. So if you just make a regular blog post or thread, it's obviously not paywalled. Anybody can read it freely. If you use creator subs, we actually built an encrypted on-chain system where your content gets encrypted, and then if someone's a subscriber of you, they can decrypt the content that you posted. So it's actually a pretty cool way for us to have essentially what is our own Substack application. The third and fourth are ads revenue and beneficiary rewards. So ads revenue, obviously we've had ads in the past. We have a new ads model that I still am kind of holding back until we get to a more saturated environment in terms of users, page views, etc. But one day the ad platform will go live, and that will just be an addition to the SERP. And then you've got beneficiary rewards. So most people who post on Inlio essentially go essentially set a 5% beneficiary to the @Leo Finance account, which is our main account on Inlio, and 5% of their rewards get kind of donated to Leo Finance, which is obviously Inlio now. So that's kind of like this extra on top of everything. Many of you guys know if you use the beneficiary function, like people tend to curate you more because they know you're supporting. It's kind of a way to signal support for the ecosystem. So that's going to be another revenue mechanism that feeds the SERP. All four of these and any future Inlio-based revenue will essentially just buy back the Leo token every single day, because these are so the SERP, all these revenue models, they earn in various assets. So premium earns in stable coins, primarily HBD, which is a stable coin on the Hive blockchain. Creator subs also earns in stable coins, primarily HBD. Ads revenue will allow people to pay in any crypto, but it'll auto convert to stable coins. So that's also another mode of stable coins coming in. And the beneficiary rewards are primarily paid in HBD, which is a stable coin, and Hive, which is a cryptocurrency. So basically all four forms of revenue are generating external, exogenous assets to the crypto, to the Leo ecosystem. So all these different forms of crypto. These forms of crypto then buy the Leo token off the market each day from one of the DEX listings. I'm primarily focused on Maya, so it will most likely buy from Maya most of the time. Also because Maya has the best pricing for various reasons, including like streaming swaps, etc. So primarily this revenue comes in, it buys Leo from Maya protocol or another DEX. And then that Leo gets deposited into the new rewards pool. So the old rewards pool in 1.0 was fed by inflation. Every single block, like I said, a little bit of Leo was created and it was deposited into the rewards pool. And then creators and curators would earn from that rewards pool. In 2.0, the system income, the four models I just described, buy Leo and deposit it into the new rewards pool, the 2.0 rewards pool every single day. And that rewards pool is now what gets split between authors and curators on Inlio. So like I keep saying, and I know it needs to kind of continue to get reiterated, and I see a lot of you guys with questions in the threadcast. We'll get to questions once I get done ranting. From an Inlio user perspective, nothing's actually changing. You use the platform the same way you did in 1.0. You still earn Leo, you still earn Hive and HBD because the Hive rewards pool is still running in the background. So you still earn and everything still works the same way mechanically. It's simply answering the question of where do rewards come from. Right now, in 1.0, they come from inflation. In 2.0, they come from buybacks. That's really the only change. So the amount of LEO you earn is likely to be a lot less because it's coming from buybacks and not inflation. But that being said, when inflation is turned off and we've got this permanent buyer because it has to buy every day in order to pay out rewards, it's likely that the LEO you earn will be more valuable, provided everything works. So that's how the system income rewards pool works. And obviously you guys can drop questions if you have any on that. I know a question is going to be about delegations to Leo.voter. So in terms of delegations, right now that is subsidized by inflation and bridge revenue. So the bridges I'll get into, but essentially Leo.voter delegators are paid from inflation and bridge revenue. Right now, the APR is somewhere between 12 and 18%. It kind of depends on what tier you have for delegating. The delegator payouts are not going away, but they are changing. So because there's not going to be any more inflation, we need a new way to pay delegators. The way that delegators are going to get paid is, again, very similar to what we're doing with the SERP. Delegators will get paid through buybacks. So basically what happens is a delegator has Hive power. They delegate it to Leo.voter. Leo.voter uses that to curate users on Inlio so that they can earn Hive and HBD rewards. And Leo.voter earns Hive power for its part of that curation. So in the Leo 2.0 model, Leo.voter will be using the Hive it earns from curation to buy back Leo every day and distribute that Leo to delegators. So the current APR for Hive power right now is about 10 to 12%. So that's kind of the baseline is about 10 to 12% on your Hive power. That being said, and I've kind of modeled this out in a few different scenarios. If Leo outperforms Hive on a regular basis, which Hive is inflationary, Leo is about to be deflationary. So I do think it's going to outperform Hive. If Leo outperforms Hive, the APR will be significantly higher than 10 to 12%. And the reason why is because every day it's buying Leo and paying that out to delegators, but delegators are now earning in an asset that is more valuable than the asset that they're delegating in. So while the baseline will be 10 to 12%, I do think that if the Leo price is increasing, if you run the math over like a year period of time, your APR is going to be significantly higher than that. It's kind of hard to estimate that. I think it'll be in the range of like 20 to 35%. That's kind of where my models land. But again, there's a lot of market forces behind that. And it's really impossible to predict. So you kind of know for a fact, unless Leo doesn't outperform Hive, that the baseline APR is going to be 10 to 12% if you're a delegator to Leo.voter. That being said, if the Leo price continues to go up, it's already started to, because you guys obviously know that these changes have been coming. I think the APR will be a lot higher. So my encouragement to delegators is, leave your delegation for at least a month after the 2.0 changes go live, and see how it goes. Obviously you can pull your delegation whenever you want, but if you leave it on for a month, I think we'll have a pretty good set of data to look at when it comes to the APR. Obviously we're going to have the APR listed on Inlio as it is right now, but it'll be using the new calculation for 2.0. So long story short, delegators are now also paid from buybacks and not from inflation. So again, we have to make a lot of these changes as inflation is really used to reward people in the Leo economy right now. And if we're switching to a full buyback model, we have to switch all the models. So I mentioned Leo bridges. The reason why, and I also mentioned that Leo is going to be deflationary. So essentially the day that 2.0 goes live, and I'll get to the time of everything. The day that 2.0 goes live, inflation is going to be turned off. Block rewards are turned off, which means that you can no longer earn Leo from inflation. And we actually are destroying the ability for inflation to ever be turned back on. So, for a dead fact that the day that 2.0 takes place, inflation can never happen, which means that the max supply of Leo, the circulating supply of Leo on that day, is the final supply of Leo. There is no team stake. There's no, bounties stake. There's nothing. So it is just that amount of Leo that is in circulation on that day, and it will never be more than that. So now that you know that, the question is, how does it go deflationary? And I have kind of mixed feelings on deflationary. I know Task obviously does as well. He's made a lot of videos about it. Being deflationary for the sake of being deflationary will not do anything. That being said, if you're pulling in real revenue and that real revenue is deflationary, kind of like how Thorchain, 5% of system income burns Rune, that is exogenous revenue that comes in, buys Rune and burns it. That means that it kind of has like an actual impact on the economy versus like a fake impact. Because what I see with a lot of tokens is like they create inflation and then burn it. That doesn't do, that's a net zero on the economy. It just makes them look good to anyone that doesn't do more research. So, what I wanted to create was a way for Leo to be deflationary over a long period of time from real revenue, not from like a fake, here's a fund and we just burn a percentage of it every day. So the way that's going to work is with Leo bridges. So now that Leo.voter is paying delegators from a buyback pool, the Leo bridge revenue is free to do whatever it wants. So what is Leo bridge for anyone who may not know? Leo is, and in 2.0, I'll get into this as well, but in 2.0, Leo is now natively an Arbitrum token. So right now, or in 1.0, Leo is natively a Hive Engine token. In 2.0, Leo is migrating to being a native Arbitrum token. So we already have the Arbitrum token live. It's been live for a long time. It's listed on Maya. And this transition was kind of planned, a few years ago, that if the need arose, we would switch. And now we have. So Leo is native on Arbitrum. And then there are other forms of Leo on other blockchains that are essentially wrapped versions of Leo. So you've got BLEO on BSC, PLEO on Polygon, and you've got Hive Engine Leo on the Hive blockchain. These forms of Leo can all be interchanged, like they're all fungible, right? They can all be moved seamlessly. You can go BLEO, PLEO, HE-Leo, and native Leo, which is on Arbitrum. You can bridge back and forth between all these different forms of Leo. Every time you do, there are protocol run oracles that essentially process your bridge transactions. So let's say I have 100,000 Leo on Hive Engine, and I want to move that 100,000 Leo to Arbitrum for native Leo. I essentially process it. There's a bridge app that we've built. I process, and the bridge has been live for since 2020, so almost 5 years now. If I want to bridge, I essentially just bridge over using the app, and then a small percent fee is charged by the protocol. And when you bridge over to the new chain, you just pay that small percentage fee from the Leo that you bridged. And right now, that's subsidizing Leo.voter delegation payouts. That is the 1.0 tokenomics. In 2.0, that fee that gets charged is going to burn Leo. So I like to call this like passing go. So every time you pass go, which means that you wrap or unwrap Leo across one of these bridges, you are essentially passing go. You're paying a small fee in order to bridge over to the other chain. Most of the people who bridge are arbitragers because we're listed on PancakeSwap, BSwap, SushiSwap, and Maya Protocol. So all four of those dexes have their own price of Leo. So when there's a price discrepancy, an arbitrager essentially comes in and can swap, on one exchange and then, unwrap and swap on the other exchange, and then they make the price difference. The majority of use case for that is really arbitrage for the most part. So under the 2.0 tokenomics, if I move 100,000 Leo across the bridge, the standard fee, it's a 1 to 5% variable fee. So the fee creeps up as the price discrepancy grows. This has been a way for us to kind of capitalize on arbitragers. So as the arbitrage gets more rich, we actually charge a larger bridge fee, which is actually a great thing for the Leo economy because, essentially when an arbitrager, gets the pleasure of using the bridge in order to swap and make a profit, the Leo ecosystem generates a larger profit if they make a larger profit. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, if the arbitrager is making more money, then Leo is also making more money. So there's a 1 to 5% variable fee that's charged. Let's just call it 2% for this example. If I bridge 10,000 Leo from Hive Engine Leo to Leo on Arbitrum, that 2% fee would be 200 Leo. In 2.0 tokenomics, that 200 Leo is going to get burned. So on the day of 2.0 going live, you see the max supply, no more Leo will ever be created. And then when the first bridge transaction happens after that, Leo is now deflationary. So any Leo that gets bridged that 2%, call it fee, is creating deflation on the token. So over time, I don't, and like I said, I have mixed feelings about burning in general. I want it to be like real system income that's getting burned. So, I think there's going to be no impact in the immediate, future. But I think in the long run, if you imagine like, if 1 million LEO is getting bridged back and forth every single month, and an average of 2% is the fee that's charged, that's a significant amount of LEO every single month that kind of just keeps getting burned over time. So, perhaps 5-10 years from now, that becomes a very significant amount of LEO that's burned from the ecosystem. And it's all just burned through system income from the bridging tech. So that's how bridges work in 2.0. Again, from a user perspective, the bridges work exactly the same. It's more just instead of subsidizing Leo.voter delegators, it's now just burning the token and making it deflationary. So I know I'm rambling longer than I expected here, which maybe you guys predicted. My last thing I'll say before I open this up, and there is just a lot to cover. I'm trying to talk fast. The last thing I'll say is related to, let's see, what do I want to go with here? I guess I've got two more things, and then we'll open this up. So for 90 days, there's going to be a protocol-owned liquidity or protocol-owned LEO buyback period, aka POL. So 100% of the LeoDex revenue for the next 90 days after 2.0 goes live will buy back LEO and stake it into the SLEO Arbitrum contract in a protocol designated vault address. So basically for 90 days, we have a temporary buyback period. And this is inspired by TCY. I obviously was very close to the TCY launch, and I loved the tokenomics that were built there. Building something that essentially creates a permanent buyer for the token is something that I think is a genius strategy, especially when it uses real revenue. So, what we're doing is for the 90-day temporary period, this POL address is going to buy LEO off the market using 100% of the affiliate revenue from LeoDex. So let's just say in the 90-day period, if LeoDex generates $100,000 in affiliate revenue, the POL account is going to buy $100,000 worth of LEO, and it's going to stake it as SLEO. This account can never sell LEO, and it will hold it in the SLEO contract. And after the 90-day period is over, the contract will turn on the SLEO rewards. So if you stake LEO into SLEO on Arbitrum, which is a new contract that we're deploying for 2.0, you earn USDC payouts every single day from the LeoDex affiliate revenue. So there's a couple other features too that we can get into later, but essentially you stake LEO into SLEO and you earn USDC harvests every single day. You can go to LeoDex and you click a claim button, and then you claim USDC into your account. That USDC is entirely from affiliate revenue on LeoDex. So that's from Thorchain, Maya Protocol, Chainflip, and any other aggregators we decide to integrate in the future. They pay an affiliate fee to LeoDex when we facilitate a swap for them. And that affiliate fee is converted to USDC and then deposited into the Arbitrum LEO staking contract. So after the 90-day period is over, that will begin paying out USDC every day. The protocol-owned LEO vault address will earn USDC alongside everybody else. So, for example, if $100,000 in USDC is paid to the SLEO contract every month, and the protocol-owned LEO owns, say, 10% of the LEO that's staked in the Arbitrum contract, then protocol-owned LEO will earn $10,000 per month, and that's obviously paid out daily. What it will do is, again, inspired by TCY and the protocol treasury that Alux designed there, the POL vault will use the USDC it earns each day to buy LEO and then stake it for SLEO. So every single day, it's using the USDC that it earns to buy more LEO and stake it and increase its stake, so that the next day it earns a little bit more USDC from the SLEO contract, and then it buys more LEO the next day, stakes it as SLEO, and so on and so forth, kind of creating its own flywheel. So I was a huge fan of that for the, TCY and STCY setup. And I decided to bring it over for SLEO. So For 90 days, that's how we're doing kind of treasury buybacks essentially, and then putting it in this POL vault, and it's going to stake it permanently. It can never sell, and then it will earn USDC alongside everybody else. So we can talk more about that. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions on that. That was just a really brief overview. During that 90-day period, this will be the last thing before I open this up. During that 90-day period, we're also doing a volume-based airdrop for LeoDex swappers. So, LeoDex has made a lot of progress. Like I said, we started building it, really focusing on it in April. We've made a ton of progress since then in terms of building out the application, and we have a lot more releases coming. But we need to let the world of cross-chain know that we exist, and we also need to try to gain market share. There's a lot of interfaces out there. There's a handful of interfaces that are doing, $100,000 a week in affiliate revenue. So our goal is not only to grow in terms of the existing pie, but also capture more, external attention as well. So the 90-day airdrop will be a volume-based airdrop, and you will essentially be able to earn Leo when you do swaps on LeoDex, only for that 90-day period, and then it will be over, and there will never be another airdrop. So it's going to be a temporary measure where you're able to earn Leo from swapping on LeoDex. And again, the goal here is to attract outside people to use LeoDex, to learn about LeoDex, to give us feedback on LeoDex. It is a kind of marketing strategy to bring in an initial user base. It also, and the reason why we're running this in the same 90-day window as the buyback period, it also will allow LeoDex to earn more affiliate revenue so that it can buy back more Leo for the POL. And the bigger the POL is by the end of the 90-day period, the more Leo that will get bought back in the long run. Because again, it's a permanent buyer of Leo. So, my kind of, I guess you could call it unofficial goal would be for the POL to buy something around 10% of the Leo supply, which would be around 3 million Leo tokens. So that is kind of like what I have in my mind and kind of modeled out is what I'd like to see is the POL buying about 3 million Leo. At the current price, what is that, about $60,000? So, I don't know what's going to happen with the Leo price with all these changes, but at the current price, that'd be about $60,000 in affiliate revenue, which seems very doable over a 3-month period of time. I think we're currently on pace to do like $10,000 a month in affiliate revenue. So we got to kind of double what we're at right now in order to hit that target. So, but again, get the POL to 10%, and now 10% of all the USDC earned by LeoDex is now buying back the Leo token and staking it every single day, and then earning more the next day. So that's kind of why I set that goal that way, and the volume-based airdrop over the same 90-day period of time. The airdrop will have a total of 2 million Leo. So on the day of 2.0 going live, inflation stops, but we do print 2 million Leo and put it into the airdrop account. So that is going to be the only unlock of tokens that exists. Obviously, there's no other unlocks out there. So that 2 million Leo will be distributed as an airdrop to anyone who swaps on LeoDex in the 90-day window. And it's, again, based on volume. And the goal there is attract more users. I would like to, I know that probably sounds, it probably sounds like, okay, well, you're releasing 2 million Leo. Granted, that's less than 10% of the, total Leo that's in the circulating supply. But the reason why we designed it to happen during the buyback period is because the goal is actually to buy back maybe a majority of that Leo. I would love to see 3 million Leo get bought back by the POL. So the airdrop will happen essentially weekly as the buyback period is also happening. So the POL account will be buying back Leo, and the airdrop will be happening simultaneously. And again, I think this is a really good way to get initial users onto LeoDex, grow the POL, and then obviously the 90-day period ends, and then 100% of affiliate revenue from LeoDex is paid out to SLEO stakers in the Arbitrum contract. So outside of all of that, there is a new page on LeoDex, and this will be my last thing. If you go to leodex.io/Leo, or just go to the top menu and you'll see a Leo icon there. If you click it, you will see a new page. That new page is a countdown timer. And, I guess it's kind of poetic that the last thing I say right now is going to be a soon. So that page shows a countdown timer, and you'll see that it actually counts down 7 days, starting essentially right when we went live for this. Unveil event. So that 7-day timer is the 7-day timer for when Leo 2.0 goes live. So today we're announcing all the changes exactly 7 days from today. And I wanted to give you guys time to really prepare for all this because it is a big change. So exactly 7 days from today is when inflation gets shut off, the SERP gets released, the airdrop starts for LeoDex, the POL buying starts for LeoDex, and all the other changes I just mentioned. So literally everything goes live in 7 days. So, everything I just mentioned, and then the master doc, use all of that to, Monk Masters just posted a screenshot of the timer. So use everything I've just talked about, and then the master doc to prepare yourself however you need to. But you have 7 days. So now that I've ranted, and by the way, there's a lot more. I was trying to talk really fast. There's a lot more, but you can read all that in the master doc, and then let's open this up for questions from you, Mitch, and Task. What do you guys have to say about it? If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll also read from the threadcast from you guys.
Obviously you can revisit things as you continue the call. I actually was just grabbing questions from the chat while you were going and just making a list so I could do a rapid fire before I got to dip out. And you just answered a few of them. So as far as like someone asked about, the airdrop period again. So that basically starts essentially Wednesday of next week.
Yes. With the timer, June 25th at noon Eastern.
Awesome. Cat won't be able to swap the first 4 days of it because he won't have internet. Anyway, so cool. Now that will lead to the next question from Morty, which is when can we stake? Which now I'm assuming is that same day.
You will be able to stake Leo on when the 90-day window ends, or maybe before, maybe a few days before. So there's no rush to stake Leo right now.
All right. So we have basically like almost a few months before you can stake. Essentially, what are you calling it again? It's LEO.
LEO, yeah, just
okay.
Staked Leo. That being said, I mean, we may release it sooner, but the rewards for staking on LeoDex will not come until the 90-day buyback period is over, because 100% of the affiliate revenue will buy back Leo for 90 days. And then after that 90 days is when the staking rewards start. And then 100% of the affiliate revenue will go to anyone staking Leo in that contract.
Okay. And then Casper asked, does it matter which tokens are swapped? I'm assuming it doesn't, right? Any swaps you do on LeoDex qualify you for towards the airdrop?
Yeah, and we'll announce. There's going to be a whole blog post about the airdrop specifically, because there are a lot of details about it. And the goal again is to attract people to swap to LeoDex, especially ones who are not familiar with us right now. It's a marketing strategy to get more users. So we'll have to talk about the details of that and how it's kind of designated to different levels of swappers, because you don't want all the rewards to flow. Like, imagine that it was like a linear thing, and you had like $1 million in total volume. What if some whale comes in and swaps $10 million? Now everybody who does a smaller swap gets nothing or close to nothing. So we've created a kind of a cool tiered system. So I'll release all those details before June 25th.
Okay, cool. So now that lends into the next question, because you kind of mentioned getting the word out and sort of marketing at the end of the day. So Staking asked which marketing initiatives will be set up to increase swapping volume on LeoDex. So besides like what you just talked about, is there any other thing out there, or are you taking more of an organic approach?
It's definitely going to be more organic. So a lot of what you've seen so far, I mean, granted, LeoDex had $0 in volume in April. So we released essentially V3, and then we started, really getting heavy. You guys have seen on X, just really getting active in the Thorchain ecosystem and in the cross-chain ecosystem in general. So definitely a heavy organic approach. And then the volume-based airdrop is really meant to be kind of our heavy hammer, pun intended, swing in terms of getting new users from Thorchain and the cross-chain ecosystem. I would say the volume-based airdrop is really designed to say, hey, we've focused on building the best product that we're capable of. We're continuing to refine it. come over and use it, and you'll get rewarded for doing so.
Cool. So sticking with the theme in terms of getting the word out, Simple Game said, just like we have a link to LeoDex, can we get the bridge interface in the Inlio interface? So I'm assuming he means like a link on Inlio as well.
Yeah, so we're actually building the bridges into LeoDex. So LeoDex will be the place to go if you want to do anything related to the Leo token specifically. Maybe we'll add some buttons to Inlio down the road, but technically on Inlio, you can use the bridges by using the wallet page. You just have to do a manual send transaction. But we will most likely build this into LeoDex, because also keep in mind that the way the bridges work, you have to actually connect your wallet in order to use the bridge. And right now we have, so there's an app called WLEO.io, which you guys are familiar with if you've been holding Leo for a while. And if you go to that app, there's all the different bridges that are listed there that we've built. And when you use one, it right now it only lets you use MetaMask, and then I think you can kind of hack in other extensions. I primarily use MetaMask when I use those bridges. When we build the new bridge on LeoDex, you'll be able to use any wallet that's on LeoDex that is capable of holding Leo. So it's actually going to expand the functionality pretty significantly.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But so yesterday, for instance, I did like a test wrap, like as far as like using WLEO. Like I'm like, all right, let me wrap some Leo into ALEO, and I did that. And, obviously on the interface, it asks for your wallet address. I grabbed my Arbitrum wallet address from my key store, and I copied that, from being logged into LeoDex. I dropped that in, obviously put the amount, hit the button, ask me for my Hive username, put that in, boom, done and done. So I guess at the end of the day, my wallet's not connected, but I'm still using a wallet address from, at least from my key store wallet, which is supported. So in that instance, really, you can use any of your wallets that connect to LeoDex, right? It's just a matter of plugging in the wallet address.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And what you did was an unwrap from Hive Engine Leo, HE Leo to Leo native on Arbitrum. So the reason why, that flipped. But the reason why you didn't need a EVM address is because you went from Hive to an EVM. So all you had to do was paste your Arbitrum address, and then you used Hive keychain because you were on Hive. But for example, if you were going from BLEO on BSC to Leo on Hive, you would do the exact opposite of what you just did. You would sign in to WLEO.io with your MetaMask, and then you would unwrap from BLEO into HE Leo, and you would designate your Hive username, because that's your wallet address for Hive, as the recipient. So yeah, it is going to open it up. When we put it on LeoDex, it's going to open it up to a lot more wallets.
Cool.
WLEO is very outdated, by the way. I mean, I know you guys know this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We built it 5 years ago and have made no updates to it, because honestly, it's meant to be really simple. You just plug in your address, you hit bridge, and it bridges. It's like,
and I assume there's going to be some kind of upgrade. I mean, it's serviceable for now, especially for kind of the veteran Lions that already have Leo that they want to quote unquote unwrap or wrap. But cool.
Yeah,
all right. So
one quick point on that too is we're today. I think we'll have this done today. We're trying to add the bridging technology to LeoDex today, along with the ability to swap BLEO and PLEO. So we've actually, I haven't announced this anywhere, but you guys can get the alpha since you've all been so patient and sitting in the audience. We've been working on Relay and Rango as aggregator integrations. So actually two routes that they also support is BLEO and PLEO routes. So we are adding both of those routes to LeoDex hopefully today. I was personally kind of avoiding doing that because BLEO and PLEO are wrapped versions of Leo, and I wanted people to focus on swapping with Maya because that's native Leo. That being said, Arbitrum has been down on Maya for a couple weeks now, and it's been kind of unreliable. I have been talking with them, and they are working on an update to make it more reliable. But what we're planning to do is, in the meantime, at least, We want to give people a way to, swap in and out of Leo as much as they want. Even if Arbitrum is down on Maya. So we're going to temporarily add these BLEO and PLEO routes to LeoDex. And then perhaps, once Arbitrum is stable on Maya, which I think will happen in the next couple of weeks, we'll either take them off of LeoDex or we'll just make them a little bit less attractive. I mean, the pricing is already less attractive. So in a capitalistic sense, even if we leave them on there, you're better off swapping with Maya. So my encouragement is always for people to use cross-chain. But, at least in the meantime, we need to give people a way to buy Leo. And right now, the only way to do that is to use like Sushi Swap, Pancake Swap, or B Swap. And for most cross-chain users, that's like, it's just too much of a burden to learn all that just to get Leo. So we plan to add that to LeoDex hopefully today.
Cool. This question is a little bit of transition, but it's the last one I jotted down and will be my kind of goodbye in terms of the questions I've loaded. So basically, Ben Haas said, so one can stop staking Leo. I mean, well, that's a choice because you can continue to keep it powered up on Inlio, or you can, in 90 days, stake it on LeoDex. I'm personally going to do a combination of both. And then he also said, is LPUD dead, ? Which I'm actually curious about that too. I would assume it is now that inflation's going to be gone.
Well, not necessarily because, you still, if you have Leo power on Inlio, you still earn, kind of like you just said, you still earn curation rewards just the same as you are today. You're just not earning from inflation. You're earning from buybacks. So likely the amount of Leo you earn is less, but the dollar value of that Leo is likely a lot more and growing over time.
I get that. But like and again, I barely even pay attention anymore to it. Is that whole LPUD initiative still a thing? And is that
it's
actually
definitely,
because that
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, because that was basically just rewards, like people power up, and then there's people that basically delegate Leo based on like the random winners, right? Is that still going on?
Yeah, so that has taken a little bit of a back seat lately,
Gotcha.
but technically none of those mechanics are going away. So there's no real need for LPUD to go away. I mean, a lot of people are still doing it,
Gotcha.
And it's completely your choice. Perhaps it extends a little bit because now you also have the ability to stake Leo on Arbitrum. So maybe people start doing like an LPUD on Inlio and a LPUD in terms of LeoDex with staking Leo on Arbitrum. So I don't know. It's just kind of a dynamic thing.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the same theme, is that at the end of the day, like the mechanics haven't changed, right? Like basically it seems like a ton of stuff is changing, but in reality, not much is actually changing, right? If anything, it's kind of like everything's the same. It's just a little bit of a different function, so to speak, and an addition, in that the addition is you're going to be able to stake LEO. You're going to be able to stake Leo on LeoDex. That's the big addition, so to speak. But the mechanics for Inlio seem like everything's pretty much the same. The only change is that inflation's gone and rewards are going to be, based on quote unquote revenue, essentially for both platforms. Leo that's earned from activities, and then that Leo will be paid out. So that's really the big fundamental change in regards to both things. Everything else from the social side looks like it's going to function exactly the same. And, we can keep Leo powered up on Inlio if we want, and you have your Hive Engine Leo, and then you have your Arbitrum Leo, and do as you please. So anyway, that's my opinion, my 2 cents. There's a ton more questions, but those are the ones I jotted down while you were going. I got to bounce because I have to catch a plane. So y'all have fun with more questions and whatnot. I'm sure Task has plenty to chime in on, so I'll let him jump in as well and share his thoughts, because he is much smarter than me in all things Leo. So
thanks, Mitch. Appreciate you coming on, and safe travels.
Appreciate it. And I will not be around next week for the AMA. So I will see you in like 2 weeks.
All right. See you in 2 weeks. Have fun.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone. And let's go. Number up. Later.
See ya. All right. And I know on the video you guys can only see me, but Task is here on stage. He's just audio only. So he will be the great voice in the background. So thanks, Mitch, for coming again. Appreciate the back-to-back, because he was obviously here for the AMA yesterday. But we'll keep the Q&A rolling. Task, did you have any questions on your end, or did you see any that you want to bring up from the Threadcast?
No, I really haven't been watching the Threadcast since Mitch was kind of running it, and I've been messing around. I think I broke Rafiki again. But anyway, that's a side note. One thing I did want to add, if I could, based upon what you said earlier, and I have done a lot of writing and expressed views on token burns and deflation and stuff like that, and why this goes counter to much of what I've written, is there's a couple things that come into play. LEO is a value capture token. People want to use the term cryptocurrency. LEO isn't a currency. LEO is a crypto asset or a digital asset. And LEO reflects the value of the LEO ecosystem, platform, application, whatever term you want to utilize. LEO, over the past 5 years, has done a fairly significant job of distributing the token among many holders. People have had the opportunity to accumulate the token. Where they did or didn't is up to them, but the opportunity was there. Now, my problem with token burns in crypto is often that is done as a financial maneuver in lieu of growth, in lieu of building, in lieu of trying to expand the ecosystem. And people talk about token burns, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter. If you have 100 million tokens and nobody wants it, or if you have one token and nobody wants it, what the hell do you have? You have nothing. So that is the objection I've had within the crypto industry of this idea of token burn, where you look at these project teams that are doing it, and it's like, okay, that's all well and good, but here's the next question. What the hell are you doing? What's going on? What is taking place? What business 101 skills are you implementing, whether it be in marketing, whether it be in product development, whether it be in branding, positioning, technical, whatever the case may be? What is being done? And on most of these projects, the answer is nothing. We have a token burn. That's it. Obviously, with LEO, anybody who's been paying attention to the AMAs and the LEO finance posts over the last 9 to 12 months, there's been a lot happening and a lot of development. So now, after listening to Cal drone on and on and on for 45 minutes, you should have a clear indication that there are many pathways being utilized at the same time. Revenue pathways and ways of, I'll define it as reducing the circulating supply of LEO. Now, one is token burn, but that's only one. So yes, on the bridges, every time we bridge over, if you bridge over and you pay a 10 LEO fee, 10 LEO just disappeared forever. They're gone. They're no longer in the float. Their history, those were burned. But there's others. And I just mentioned Rafiki. I mentioned Cal mentioned, on the AMA yesterday, some of the other ideas of his future of AI agents and an agentic internet, which is not a unique viewpoint, by the way. And if you look at some of these agents and you look at the LEO in them, it's 100 LEO, 75 LEO, 150 LEO, whatever the number is, that's locked up forever. That's 150 LEO that it's not burned. It's still in the floating supply, but it's locked up. It doesn't come out. So when it comes to buy-sell pressure and market dynamics, that is excluded. And so now if you take, somebody posted earlier that there's like 27.3 million LEO out there. Another 90 days plus the 2 million, like Cal said, let's round it off to 30 million.
Yeah, the
Well,
doc
what
has it
happens
written
if-
as 30 million. So it's
Oh.
it should be. That's kind of my estimation of where we'll land.
Okay, let's just use that because it's a nice round number. 30 million. Well, what if these agents get 500,000 Leo in them over time? That means your float is 29,500,000 just based upon that. And then, of course, burns are into that and all this other stuff. The other thing to point out that Cal mentioned is the 90-day window for the SERP to, or not the SERP, to accumulate Leo, which can start earning USDC, which the more USDC that earns, the more Leo it buys. So again, even though you have Leo that's out there in the float, it's effectively locked up permanently. And it's unlike a liquidity pool where the value is locked up based upon present entry, but the Leo token can be taken out if people like the Cacao Leo pool. If people swap Cacao for Leo and take Leo out, then obviously that just is out there floating. This is a little different. It's locked in there. So again, using Cal's numbers just as an example, let's say 3 million goes in. Well, every time USDC is issued to that fund, essentially, it buys more Leo, puts it in. Now the next day it may be 3,300,000 Leo, 3,500,000 Leo, 3,750,000 Leo, on and on it goes. So what you're doing is you're looking at effectively reducing what is in the float in terms of the number of units because of these different burn / lockup / tie-up mechanisms where even if the Leo is still listed out there, it's not out there. It will never be part of the sell side of your buy-sell equation. And this is driven by, hopefully, revenues, LeoDex, and some of these other things that are taking place, as opposed to, oh, well, we're just doing a burn and we have inflation. So hopefully everybody can understand the incentive for the community. Let me say that again. The incentive for the community to A, increase the number or the people who see Leo, whether it's LeoDex, INLEO, whatever it is. We want to get more people. We want to get more revenue. If you hold Leo, you have an incentive for that. The other thing you have an incentive for is to do what you can to try to lock up more Leo. Now, I'm not saying you burn your float or you burn your holdings in your wallet. That's stupid. But you use the Leo bridge. You use the AI. You start to engage in these agents. You start to do the things that can help to lock up Leo, because guess what? That's going to help your wallet, the USD value of your wallet, which ultimately everybody's after, because nobody cares about having more Leo. We want to have more Leo because of what it equates to in USD. You don't want to have $1 million Leo. You'd rather have $1 million. So the idea is to get $1 million Leo worth $1 million or more. So hopefully that can give you a summary and give you the motivation incentive to really look at this seriously and see the transition that's taking place.
Yeah, and yeah, you made a bunch of good points, and one thing that I'll riff on that you said at the end is, holding the Leo token thus far has really been more for people that want to be active on Inlio and have an influence there. So, I see One Alpha in the audience and the Threadcast. He's been like kind of the shining example of this, where, he owns a lot of Leo power, and he bought a lot of Leo power for the explicit goal of, kind of building a brand around, being like the biggest Leo stakeholder and being active on Inlio and giving people what he calls booms, which is like massive upvotes on Inlio. So up until now, the main reason for buying and holding and staking Leo has been to, have influence over the social media platform and also to earn curation rewards. That being said, like the APR for curation on Leo is like decent. I mean, I think it's like in the realm of 10%. But that being said, I think you see that the rewards are all inflationary. So you kind of wonder, well, okay, yeah, I can earn 10%, but it's just coming from inflation. Everybody else is earning the 10%. So really your 10% is more just to offset, the dilution of the LEO that you hold. So from an investor point of view, and I've obviously talked to a lot of people who have looked at LEO and said, wow, I really believe in what you're building, especially recently with the LeoDex stuff. Wow, I really believe in what you're doing. I believe in your team. I believe in your community and all the amazing technologies that you're building. But why would I buy a token and hold it when I'm just getting diluted by inflation? And if I hold it for a long period of time, because I believe in this, I'm essentially, my value is being diluted away. And if I curate actively, I may be able to offset that dilution, but not fully. I can partially offset the dilution because at the end of the day, economically, some level of rewards are being flowed to places that have nothing to do with curation, like Leo.voter and author payouts. So you're being diluted no matter what part of the ecosystem you're in. Maybe if you do a little bit of everything, like I know One Alpha is a big delegator and he's a big creator and he's a big curator. So he's managed to kind of have his hands in every cookie jar and probably just avoid dilution, but not actually come out ahead. And that's been a major problem with LEO 1.0. That being said, and I keep echoing on this, it's been a great way to distribute the token to a lot of people over a long period of time for the past 6 years. So I'm not like mad about the fact that we did it for 6 years. I'm more just saying, like, in terms of the long run, in terms of bringing a token to market, that's already been out there for a long time, that is, viable to, someone who wants to, utilize it and not be diluted, that requires some massive changes, which is what 2.0 is all about. Take away the dilution because you get rid of inflation, and now just allow LEO to absorb all the value creation that happens and the value capture that happens every single day already. So, even if LeoDex volume doesn't grow, like let's just say we maintain where we are now, we're already capturing value from Inlio Premium, from creator subs, and from beneficiary rewards and from Leo.voter. That's just on the Inlio side. We're already capturing a lot of value there. The problem is we're not capturing more than inflation was creating. So that's why the token price was going down. So if you combine that with LeoDex growing in volume, because this is now the core focus of the team and the community, all of you guys should be making referral codes and making content and getting people to come to LeoDex and swap. If we all grow the LeoDex volume together, now you not only have all the Inlio value capture that can actually flourish, you actually have the LeoDex volumes growing and creating more buy pressure on Leo, and then also distributing more USDC to anyone in the SLEO contract, which creates more utility for buying Leo. So you create really an environment where right now, the utility around buying Leo and holding it is not very good. You're getting diluted every day, and you can see it happening with the inflation. But with these changes in place, we're just kind of unlocking the potential of Leo, allowing the Inlio revenues to buy back the token unencumbered, and then also allowing LeoDex to flourish on its side. So I like to keep describing that you've got Inlio and LeoDex are kind of separate entities, but they work synergistically because they're connected by the Leo token. So Inlio is generating its own revenue, buying Leo every day. And then LeoDex is starting to do the same. So, we've saturated Inlio. We allow it to keep running. We grow it as we can. And now we focus on LeoDex and we grow the revenue there and grow the inflows there for Leo. And with no inflation, both of these things can now just capture value to the Leo token and hopefully create an environment where Leo increases in value in the long run as we continue to iterate, develop, refine, and grow our ecosystem. And then, all this stuff is, and this is in the blog post a little bit as well, is, well, what's the roadmap of Leo, going forward? And kind of the, bird's eye view is that the roadmap is to make the best cross-chain web app out there. So LeoDex.io, I want it to be like the absolute best, hands down UI UX for cross-chain. So Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and any others that we integrate. Make that the best web app we can. And while we're developing that, we've already built LeoKit, which, if you're familiar with SwapKit, is essentially an SDK that allows other applications to integrate Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip with just a few lines of code. And then they pay a small fee to us, and then they get the rest of the affiliate fee. So SwapKit has become extremely successful. I forget the exact volume, something north of like $30 million a week is the volume that SwapKit processes. And it's integrated by things like Ledger and other wallets. So we've built our own called LeoKit. And right now that's what's running on LeoDex. So the big bird's eye roadmap is make the best web app and then release LeoKit. So refine and release LeoKit, because LeoDex is like the kind of the patient zero of LeoKit. Like it's where we develop and make it better. And then release LeoKit to the wild, allow people to use it. And 100% of the revenue from LeoKit will also go to the SLEO contract on Arbitrum. So that's kind of the next big roadmap item. And then the third one is to build our own mobile app for LeoDex. So to build our own mobile app that allows you to use cross-chain and trade cross-chain seamlessly inside of one app that just works. And it's like a really great user experience, which will also feed into something that many of you guys know, but I don't talk about much, is that I'm working on getting LeoDex's Rails integrated for payments. So for merchants, I'm working on POS systems where they'll be able to accept any crypto and receive any crypto. And it's all processed by Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip. So essentially when a person goes into like a gas station, for example, and buys like a soda for $3, they'll be able to pay with like, Dash, for example, and they'll scan a QR code. It pays $3 worth of Dash. But the merchant is set up to receive USDC on Arbitrum, for example. So the merchant will receive USDC on Arbitrum, but the customer paid Dash, and it swaps through LeoDex on the back end, and it just all flows. So in order to do that, we have to build our own LeoDex mobile app, which will essentially be working with the POS system. So essentially, we'll put like a little iPad in these gas stations, and I've already lined up. What are we at now? Like 75 different local stores that are going to have these iPads, and they'll get a QR code will simply populate, kind of like when you go and tap your credit card. A QR code populates. You scan it with your phone, and it just automatically pays on the back end. So you guys know I put out a blog post, what was that, 7 or 8 months ago, I think, where I was talking about my work on that. So that'll be live soon, hopefully in the wild. But the mobile app is going to be really important for that. So that's kind of the big ticket, roadmap in terms of what we're building. And Leo 2.0 is really just unlocking the token's potential, across these different vectors. Like we've got Inlio generating revenue, but right now it's just being absolutely hammered by inflation, and there's no reason to keep paying inflationary rewards. Let's switch to system income. That's the entire point of 2.0. And then LeoDex is slowly growing. We're doing, roughly on order of like $2 million a month in swap volume. So, if we grow that and we continue to grow that, then the token will do well because now we've gotten rid of inflation. I like to call it like a setup. Like we've set the token up for success. Right now in 1.0, it's set up to be distributed, which is a great thing for early days. It was set up to have inflation and distribute to a wide number of holders with no VCs, no token unlocks. It just was distributed to you guys who used Inlio. With 2.0, we're saying, okay, now that the token's distributed, let's turn off inflation. Let's focus on capturing the value that we create with Inlio and LeoDex into the token and absorb that value and grow over time.
Yeah, one question that came through, then I got a comment on what you said. One Alpha, question to Al. How exactly can I stop my Leo power down process? Please explain this to me like I'm 5.
If you don't see it on Inlio's wallet page, you should see it on the wallet page, an unstake icon. I don't think I've unstaked Leo, so I don't even know. But if you go to the wallet page, you should see an unstake icon. I'm pretty sure it's like a red icon. You just click that and then set it to 0 and then hit unstake, and then it changes it from whatever you're at to 0. If that doesn't work, you can try it on like Hive Engine, for example, on another Hive Engine interface.
Now, one thing you mentioned, and this is an important point again, to stress the dual component of this. You have revenue generation but you also have reduction of the LEO float. And what Cal just mentioned with this point of sale system is, again, that's another way to generate revenue, because on a point of sale system, there's fees that are charged. And like you said, it's going to use the LeoDex rails, which ultimately end up being token swaps. That generates more revenue. That's feeding in. That is buying the LEO. That's going into the fund. All of it just keeps building. And so if you can imagine something like a point of sale system, let's say it gets 1,000 locations. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of volume that can go through something like that when you're looking at convenience stores and gas stations and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, it's incredible to think about the potential of it. I mean, even as a web app, like you look at, sorry, I was muted on the X space. It's incredible when you look at the potential of what we're doing here with, especially with the LeoDex side of things. We are, you know, in terms of a web app, there's web apps out there generating, like I said, $100,000 a week in affiliate revenue. And my goal is not for us to just like, you know, get a slice of the pie. It's for us to actually like not only grow within what is already there, which I do think we are already starting to, but also attract outside people, like people that are not using cross-chain yet. And you'll see like a lot of our marketing messages on X and other places is really focused at the external world. Like there's a lot of crypto traders. The market for trading crypto is massive. So my goal is not just get a pie of what's happening already on cross-chain with Thorchain and Maya and Chainflip. It's let's, you know, grab, you know, not only a piece of that pie, let's help grow that whole pie for everybody by getting new people in. So that is a huge focus for us. And, you know, like Tash just mentioned, the POS system that, you know, I think you can find that blog post from like 7 months plus ago where I started thinking about it and we started working on it. You know, it is going to really bring in like the average, you know, just average person. I mean, just imagine like, you know, if 100,000 people are doing, you know, buying a $3 cup of coffee or, you know, going and buying their groceries with crypto, and it's just swapping in the background. Like it's like auto magic, right? Like it's automagically happening in the background where you just scan something, it pays, and it pays whatever you have, and the merchant receives whatever they want. So this is something I've been working on for a long time. But like I said, not easy to build it's not easy to build a POS system. So, you know, we've got iPads, we've got the hardware. Now we've been working on the software, and again, like this LeoDex mobile app. So I won't have anything to talk about, you know, anytime like really soon, but in the very near future, we will be starting to roll out the pilot program for this, where people can just literally walk up to any store that has the support, you know, the hardware support. You know, maybe they buy, like, imagine this, like someone goes to a gas station, they're buying, you know, an energy drink. They go up to the counter and they see pay with any crypto. And they're like, oh shit, well, I have, you know, Dash in my Dash Pay wallet. And then they see, you know, click pay with Dash, you know, merchant rings them up. You know, they click pay with Dash, a QR code populates, they use their Dash Pay wallet, they scan it, it sends $3 worth of Dash, and then they walk out. They got their, you know, energy drink. What's happening in the background is that Dash is getting swapped on Maya protocol into whatever the merchant wants to receive. For example, USDC on Arbitrum. And then the merchant just gets USDC on Arbitrum, and that's it. And then, you know, you got two happy people. What happens in the middle of that is LeoDex's POS system just processed a $3 swap. Obviously, this is, you know, small potatoes, but you know that adds up when you start looking at a lot of payments, and that's why Visa and MasterCard, you know, make so much money. So I think this is going to be really huge in the long run. Definitely one of those long run items for us. But again, you know, setting up the Leo token to succeed is really key. You have to do that part.
Yeah, and one thing to just add to that, the Genius Act, which is the stablecoin bill, just passed the U.S. Senate yesterday. There's another piece to go through the House, and then they'll probably have to reconcile. But odds are the stablecoin bills will become law in the United States. Why do I bring that up? because what Cal said, every merchant is going to have ties to a stablecoin, to the preferred stablecoin. Now, it may be a bank issued stablecoin, it may be USDC, it may be Tether, it may be whatever. But all these entities are going to be accepting stablecoins as payments because that's going to be the future. That's what's going to be the exchange transfer of value that represents bank deposits. And so what he's saying is if you walk up and you got a little bit of Dash because you were playing around on Leo and you want to buy a soda, you just pay for the soda with your Dash, or you pay for your coffee or your candy bar with your Dash, and it converts it to whatever the merchant wants. There are going to be a ton of these transactions out there and the infrastructure on the background handling it. It's just a matter, and I figure over the course of time, these different protocols are just going to be adding these different stable coins as they roll out and become popular, because why wouldn't they? And then all of a sudden it's just, well, if it's on Maya, if it's on Thorchain, if it's on one of the protocols, LeoDex ties into it. And that's the scalability of the system.
Yep, absolutely. And again, like, you know, that's our future. Like we, you know, keep building. Again, I have kind of this like 3-step roadmap in my head. And it is, you know, again, very bird's eye. I mean, there's like a lot of interim things to do, but the bird's eye view of what the team is now doing is build the best web app for cross-chain, which is LeoDex.io. And then release LeoKit for any app who wants to integrate, you know, Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and other aggregators, you know, with a few lines of code. And that's called LeoKit, which is essentially like SwapKit. And then third, release the LeoDex app, the wallet app, which is going to facilitate the expansion of what I've been working on for a couple months now, which is the POS system, so that you can pay in and receive any crypto. And I'm just working with a lot of local people on the ground to make this happen. I was really fortunate to run into somebody right when I was thinking about this, who is you know, an executive at a POS system locally, but they service like massive merchants, like you're massive. So essentially set me up with like about 75 and growing stores who said, yeah, we'll do this pilot program. And what we're offering them is essentially like a multi-year deal where they'll get cheaper fees because they were like onboarded sooner. So, you know, they'll essentially get like discounted merchant fees because they're a part of the pilot program. So they're aware that, you know, while we're kind of rolling this out and working on it, you know, it needs, it's going to need refining. It's going to need feedback, very much like LeoDex, very much like INLEO. Like, you know, we release something, we ask you guys for feedback, we fix that stuff, we refine it, we make it better. This POS system is no different. So it is a whole new piece of software, and it has hardware. So this is the first time the Leo team's actually doing anything with hardware. Like I said, it's just something happening in the background, but it is part of the bigger roadmap. And I can't stress enough how the setup of Leo 2.0 is so that we can really reap the rewards of all this success. So very important that we have.
Can I go on a little bit of a rant, Cal?
Yeah, feel free.
To do that? Okay, good. I see a lot of people bringing this up, and I don't know how long I've talked about this, so I will talk about it again. Leo as a payment token is not the goal. If you're sitting there saying, when are we going to be able to pay for shit with Leo? That's not the goal. Go look in the mirror and write dumbass on your forehead. The idea of Leo 2.0 is to establish a Bitcoin type tokenomics. What does that mean? The idea is ultimately to get to the point where you are a horse's ass if you sell your Leo. You do not want to sell your Leo. Why the hell do you want to pay for a cup of coffee today for $2 or whatever the hell a cup of coffee costs with Leo at 2 cents a piece? So it costs you 100 Leo to get a $2 cup of coffee when Leo is going to be $10 in a year. You do not want to do that. The idea of Leo 2.0 is to get the value of the LEO ecosystem going up, while the tokenomics are going in a downward direction due to the deflation, which then those two scenarios means hopefully a larger USD price for LEO. Then you transform that into LeoDex, into LEO Financial Network, and you have the ability to stake or to use your LEO as collateral on a loan, just like people are using Bitcoin as collateral on a loan for USDC, for USDT, for whatever, to do whatever they want. The idea of LEO as a cryptocurrency, it is not a freaking currency. It's not a medium of exchange. It is volatile. The idea is for price to go up. You do not want to spend your LEO. We do not want you spending your LEO and devaluing the LEO by saying, oh, great, I'm going to give it away. This is what the idea is when you say use it for payments. Give it to us. This is why I objected, and Cal and I went back for weeks on this when he was talking about LEO Premium and saying, well, should we accept LEO for payment? No. You're saying as a platform, as a development team, oh, give us your LEO for $10 worth of service, meaning it will not be worth more down the road. That's the exact backward thinking. And that's what everybody's approach cryptocurrency. What can I buy with it? It is a value capture. The LEO ecosystem is worth X number of dollars today. The goal through everything Cal's been talking about for months now, well, for what he recapped in the call today, the goal is for LEO to be worth a lot more, the LEO ecosystem, down the road, which means the LEO token should be worth more as the amount of LEO available for float starts to decline 90 days from now or whenever that exactly takes place. And that's how you build wealth. That's how you have something. If you have 500 LEO, if you have 1,000 LEO, if you have 100,000 LEO, if you have 1,000,000 LEO, I can guarantee you whatever number of LEO 1 Alpha has in his wallet today, he not only wants to have more LEO in his wallet next month or next year, he also wants the LEO, instead of worth 2 cents, he wants it worth 20 cents or $2 or whatever the number is. That's the goal. So if you're looking for it to be a payment, why? So you're going to buy something today with 100 LEO for $2 that's going to be worth 10x that down the road or 100x. By the way, it's one of the reasons why Bitcoin is not a medium of exchange. Leaving volatility aside, it's a hodler token. Michael Saylor, all these entities around the world are starting to accumulate Bitcoin. That's the same thing with LEO. And what do you see? What's 1 Alpha been going out and doing? Buying LEO. Why is 1 Alpha doing that? So he can buy shit with it? No. He's doing that because he understands what's going on here. And he's saying to himself, with these new tokenomics, there's a good chance LEO that I'm getting for 1.5 or 2 cents today is going to be worth 5 cents or 15 cents or 50 cents or $1 down the road. That's why he's loading up on his LEO.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, LEO is a utility, right? Like it's you have it and you own it for access to certain things, certain utilities behind it. So it is not meant to be like, okay, I'm going to go buy a cup of coffee with it. That's not the design of it. Stable coins are far superior than any volatile cryptocurrency. It's I've never been a huge like, okay, if your crypto isn't pegged, why would anyone want to spend it? I think there will always be cryptos out there that aim to do that, and maybe one will find a model that really works. I'm not trying to knock them in any way, but the design of LEO is meant to be utility based. So you stake it and you get certain utilities for doing so. And part of the goal with 2.0 is how do we encourage and incentivize essentially what TAS is talking about, which is you accumulate LEO whether you buy it or you earn it, and you never look to sell it. And there's a few ways behind this. I saw a few you guys say, when LEO collateralized loans, I know Task mentioned it. Maya's been working on this so that you can do collateralized positions inside the pools. So you would hold, for example, like a LEO Cacao LP position, and you'd be able to collateralize that and get a loan in stable coins. So I know that that's something they've been thinking about. And then, with the Ruggiero app layer on Thorchain, it's very possible that we can launch a Rugi version of LEO on Ruggiero on Thorchain, and essentially have access to a whole new network of smart contracts, including collateralized lending. So what we need to do is focus on making LeoDex hyper successful in terms of a web app for cross-chain, and essentially allow these other teams to just build those contracts. And then when those contracts go live, we adapt them for Leo. So we're on the right track here. We're building, LeoDex to be the #1 web app for cross-chain. These other teams are working on this incredibly complex backend of collateralized lending. They'll do that work, and then we're going to support not only what they build, but then we'll actually be able to adapt it and work with them. And I've already talked to a few of these teams, about adapting these things for the Leo token and putting that all on LeoDex.
And if I can jump in here, since you mentioned it, Leo on Ruggiero, we know they're building perpetuals. How about Leo futures contracts? I mean, there's that potential out there where this stuff can be built on these different protocols and incorporated into the Leo ecosystem that makes it much bigger than simply a proof of brain distribution token that it's basically been, up to this point, with the exception of a few small tentacles reaching Ethereum and Polygon and things of that nature.
Yeah, and the proof of brain model has proven to not really work in the long run in terms of value. So in terms of distribution, I think it actually has proven to be very effective. It's a very effective means of distributing rewards. It's essentially a form of mining. Like, with Bitcoin, you had mining, and that distributed the early Bitcoins that kind of proliferated out into various wallets. There was kind of like an economic hurdle in order to get the early Bitcoins. Like, you had to buy a miner, and that economic hurdle has only grown with time. Like, I remember when I first got into Bitcoin, you could mine Bitcoin with a $250 amp miner. So that's obviously not possible anymore. But over time, that difficulty rose, and it was an economic difficulty, which means that unless you already had money, it has become very hard to get any new Bitcoins. For Leo, over the past 6 years, it's a time difficulty. So anybody with the time and desire and knowledge can mine Leo, and has been able to mine Leo for 6 years. And that's how we've distributed the token out widely. And now we're just saying, okay, token's been distributed. Time to take that growth that we've made and start capturing value into the token. So we've built Inlio, which is a successful platform that generates revenue, and now we're building LeoDex, which is already generating revenue. It's a successful platform generating revenue and growing, and we need to grow it a lot more. And now we're just setting up the token so that there's no more inflation, and we're going to absorb that economic value and make Leo, a really great and thriving economy on its own. So mining the token via inflation has come to an end, officially in 7 days. But you guys can track the timer, and on June 25th, that is when the change will happen.
One thing Lucille asked, it's kind of off topic. Is video upload on long form posts active now?
That's we're plugged into 3Speak for videos, so entirely on 3Speak if it's working or not. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But if you guys test it and try it, if it doesn't work, ping the 3Speak team. If it's something for us to fix, we'll fix it. But again, we're connected to the APIs, so.
Morty, by the way, just said he's here for the condoms. That's all. And One Alpha said all fixed, all Leo powers where it belongs. So all's right in One Alpha's world. Morty said Leo Rune. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I don't get the reference. Maybe you do.
Like Leo on Ruggiero, I bet is what.
Okay. Gotcha. Just skimming through Thor. And then he said also Thor Leo. And Lucio had a comment, but it wouldn't be. There's a couple people commenting on my rant, but it wouldn't be bad to give people options to spend. And then Casper Moeller said, people decide for themselves. I think if the possibility to use his payment is there, it will increase adoption and its value. Anybody can incorporate Leo as a payment for anything they want and anything they're setting up. There's nothing that says you cannot set up an application and accept Leo as payment. The difference is, the point I'm making is the Leo team, by sitting there saying, we are going to offer this as a payment token, you say it could increase the value because it increased adoption. I take the exact view. I say, no, it actually devalues, because now you have the team sitting there saying, officially, spend your Leo. When the team should be sitting there, and Leo 2.0 is the official announcement, is sitting there saying, hodl your Leo, stack your Leo, accumulate your Leo, because we are going to be offering different things where you can stake it and earn yield via USDC. Maybe you can get into collateralized lending if the protocols build it. We already have a profitable DEX. The idea is to keep increasing the revenue, so that keeps buying up more Leo. And then, oh, by the way, we have rails for locking up Leo and burning Leo, which then will reduce the effective float out there, which then that reduces the sell pressure. And now you turn around saying, well, use it as a payment. So if you go into one of these point of sale systems and say, okay, we're going to buy our groceries and pay for it in Leo, what do you think that store is going to do? That's going to be sell pressure on it. And again, if sell pressure comes from the outside, somebody else does it, that's fine. But the Leo team itself to officially say, oh, we want that to happen, and we're going to incorporate it in this price of sale system, a point of sale system, excuse me, that becomes counterproductive.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. We're not going to build out, we're going to spend our time growing the application, adoption, essentially, not payments platforms in terms of Leo. Payments platform, what's much better than building a way for you to spend Leo is building a way for you to spend any crypto, and Leo is the beneficiary of that revenue. So, that literally, and this is the stated purpose of 2.0, is that 100% of any inflows that are created, and there's inflows on Inlio, I mentioned those earlier, premium, et cetera. And there's inflows on LeoDex with affiliate revenue. There's going to be inflows from LeoKit when we release it. There's going to be inflows from the mobile app when we release it. There's going to be inflows from the POS system when we release it. All those inflows, the Inlio side, any inflows on Inlio flow to the system income rewards pool, which pays authors and curators on Inlio. And any inflows that happen on the LeoDex side or with POS or LeoKit, anything related to the DEX stuff, that flows to the SLEO Arbitrum staking contract as USDC that you can then harvest as an SLEO holder, as one of the utilities, including like DAO features and other things like that.
Brando, kind of on topic but off topic. He said Ruggiero ? Was that called Kujera or something like that before they merged with Thorchain? I think they're two separate things. Can you explain what Ruggiero is as compared to if you know what Kujera is?
So Kujera was essentially the, what Ruggiero used to be, which is a standalone ecosystem doing actually pretty much what they're doing now as Ruggiero. But the kind of key difference is that Ruggiero is now an app layer on Thorchain. So you can kind of think of it as like Ruggiero was its own L1, and now they're an L2 for Thorchain. So they merged over with Thorchain to build an app layer there. What they've essentially done, and this is the best way I can describe it, is create smart contracts for Thorchain in the same way that smart contracts were created on Ethereum, where now it's kind of up to developers. Like the app layer is there, it's kind of in this early early phase where you can't just release contracts, but over time it's going to get to a place where anybody can make any contract on the Ruggiero app layer, which is on top of Thorchain. And it's literally smart contracts. So like the same way that Ethereum started as just ETH, like there wasn't really any use case until developers started saying, hey, I can write smart contracts in Solidity. And then people started building lending and they started building DEXs and all these different features. That all came about because of smart contracts. That is what Ruggiero is for Thorchain now, which is an app layer where you can build any smart contract you want. And what that means, and you can also now launch tokens on Thorchain. So like I said, if we want to go out and launch a version of Leo on Thorchain, that is not possible with Ruggiero. So I've been very excited and following it very closely and actually talking with some of the teams that are building on Ruggiero. And, we're obviously getting ready to support some of their features on LeoDex, things like perps, things like lending, things like index products. So anything that's being built on Ruggiero, we're essentially just tapping into the API for those. And I see a future where, we work with these teams and say, hey, can you include Leo in some of the stuff you're building? And maybe when you build an index product of, like, one of the index products is a index of all the Ruggiero tokens. So there's like, I think 5 or 6 of them. And they basically built an index where it holds an equal amount of all 5 or 6. So if you just want exposure to the whole Ruggiero ecosystem, you just buy that index product and that's what you get. So imagine, things like that where Leo's incorporated. And that is happening without our explicit work on them as a team and community. So that's, other teams building stuff that we benefit from. So, again, I can't stress how important the 2.0 setup is. Like the 1.0 was us distributing Leo, completely fair launch, no pre-sale, no token, VC unlocks. And now we're entering an era where it's like, okay, we distributed, now let's capitalize. Now let's, grow the volumes, grow the use case, and hopefully see the token flourish as an economy.
Yeah, now we're looking at building the value. We distribute it, now it's built the value.
Yeah.
Casper Moeller.
Kind of like you sow and then you reap, right? There's
exactly.
Always a season.
Yeah, and Casper Moeller said, I might have missed something, but how will the Leo miners work? You went over this on the AMA. But basically, everything works the same. It's just where the payments come from. Instead of coming from inflation, it comes from buybacks. Isn't that correct, Cal?
Exactly. So right now the miners get 15% of all Leo inflation. And it's like a lottery system. So if you hold staked Leo M or Leo MM, you essentially get, you essentially have a chance to mine Leo from that lottery system. And there's a pool of, so basically every block, there's some Leo that is distributed to the Leo miners pool. There's some Leo that's distributed to the Leo author curator pool. And then there's some Leo distributed to the WLEO geyser. So there's 3 different pools of Leo that receive inflation. The miners receive, their 15% of all Leo. And then every miner based on a lottery system. So every miner gives you a ticket. Every Leo MM, I think, gives you, is it 4 or 8? It's been a long time. It gives you multiple tickets. That's why it's called a mega miner. But essentially those give you a chance to mine Leo. That's actually not going anywhere. So the miners, I know some people were like, oh, sell all your miners. I mean, you're welcome to if you want, because the amount of Leo you mine is definitely going to go down, because now that mechanism remains the same. You still get 15, all the miners still have that lottery system to get 15% of all Leo rewards. The difference is prior, in 1.0, it was 15% of inflation. And in 2.0, it's 15% of the SERP. So if the system income rewards pool buys, for example, 100,000 Leo a month, 15% of that would be 15,000 Leo. So if you hold the miners, you have a chance to mine the 15,000 Leo based on how many miners you have.
Yeah. DataStat asks, what is the long-term vision? Wallet app and LeoDex only, or protocol, or some other big stuff? Well, the protocol, this is the dual development DataStat. you have the Leo team focusing on the application on LeoDex, and obviously Inlio, and at some point a wallet app. The protocol is handled by the Maya team, by the Thorchain team, by Ruggiero team, by these other teams that are out there. So whatever they build, Leo can incorporate into LeoDex or into the Leo application. They don't have to build it. Now, Cal also mentioned the point of sale software that he's working on. That's something different, but that's a great thing. We just ride on the coattails of Thorchain, Maya, Ruggiero, and some of these other teams that are developing stuff. All we have to do is tap into it.
Yep, exactly. Everything flows back to Leo. Leo is the center of it all.
And Cal mentioned something important about like the index fund and just using that as an example. This is why Cal's interaction with some of these teams and the chain chatter that he has with some of these developers who are involved in Maya or with Thorchain, why it's so important is because over time, even if we're not seeing a direct benefit today in terms of, oh, these people are using LeoDex to trade. No, maybe they have their own application or that they prefer that they do their trading, or maybe they're not big traders. But the point being is if we can put Leo on the tip of their mind, then maybe 6 months when they're doing something like an index fund, Cal can go to them and say, look at all we're doing. Hey, can you include us in it? And they're like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't we? You know, Leo's been a part of Maya since, 6 months ago or a year ago or whatever. Look at all that Leo has going on. So this is where we can really establish ourselves and separate ourselves. We're not trying to penetrate the Bitcoin community per se. We're not trying to get onto Cointelegraph and some of these others. We're just trying to get ourselves known on Maya, on Thorchain, with some of the developers, with some of the movers and shakers. Yes, we'd love to get some of the whales trading on LeoDex, but there's also the developers. There's also the entrepreneurs that you want to be tied into.
Yeah, we're becoming a part of a bigger ecosystem that's out there, and I think that that's really valuable.
Yeah, and the one final question, which has been asked a couple of times, what are your guys' targets in terms of dollar value for a Leo? Somewhere between 1 cent per Leo and $100 million per Leo. That's the range. You can bank on it.
$100 million per Leo is pretty bearish.
I know, but we got to be conservative.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I mean, my stated goal has always been near term, couple of years, $100 million market cap, long term, $1 billion ecosystem. So you can game that out knowing that there's going to be 30 million max Leo ever out there,
and likely going down.
Yeah.
John Go asked, I think, a good question that may be for those who are listening in, especially not on live broadcast. He asked, Thorchain is the main chain. What is Maya then? Like a token built on Thor? Next question, what's the difference between Rune and TCY? So maybe you want to go, we've thrown out Maya and Thorchain. Maybe you want to give a quick overview of what they are, what's the difference?
The difference between Maya and Thorchain?
Yeah.
So Maya is a friendly fork of Thorchain. So, I wouldn't say that Thorchain is the main chain. Thorchain is a cross-chain DEX. And Maya is a fork of that. So it is essentially operates very similarly, but they were a friendly fork so that they could go out and build kind of a different feature set and also support more long tail assets. So Thorchain is much more interested in like supporting the bigger assets that are out there and kind of supporting the main things. I look at Thorchain as like the Bitcoin of cross chain. And Maya is like, Ethereum. It's a little bit more experimental. It's a little bit more out there for fringe assets. Like, for example, we wanted to get listed on Thorchain for a long time before Maya even existed. And it was honestly, we just couldn't. We weren't big enough. But, when Maya came along, that became an opportunity for us to get listed on Maya. because Maya supports more fringe assets, like Leo, for example. So, essentially I would look at Thorchain and Maya as like sister projects, like they're run by different teams, different communities, but they're related, so there's differences that are out there, and they're working on different things. Like Maya is working on, L1 collateralized lending. Thorchain, isn't working on collateralized lending, but Rujira is an app layer, which is like an L2 on Thorchain that is working on collateralized lending. So, some kind of little differences there, but at the end of the day, it's all cross chain, right? Decentralized cross chain, and we support both routes. So if you want to swap like Dash or Arbitrum assets, those are only listed on Maya. So if you want to swap Bitcoin with Dash, you can do that on Maya through LeoDex. Or if you want to swap Bitcoin with Litecoin, Bitcoin and Litecoin are supported on Thorchain. Litecoin's not supported on Maya. So if you quote that on LeoDex, you'll see the Thorchain route for that. So the goal with LeoDex is support all these protocols and allow the user to find the best price and the best timing for their swap, and just facilitate that, essentially like an aggregator.
Okay. Forky asked, what will happen to the Hive engine total supply after a 2 million distribution outside of Hive engine? Because now the Leo token is native outside of Hive. There's no Hive engine and ARB engine or HARB Leo. They're one and the same. There's 27 million Leo wherever they reside. It's just like Bitcoin and wrap Bitcoin. Just because there's 16,000 wrap Bitcoins on all these EVMs and everywhere else, it doesn't mean the total supply of Bitcoin is more than 21 billion. It can exceed that. So what happens is you are going to have some Leo on Hive engine, staked for the curation, just like there is now, and there's going to be some Leo on Arbitrum. Some of it is going to be loose and free in people's wallets. Some of it will be staked for the USDC rewards. But the total amount of Leo, you add it all up, if it's 29 million Leo or 30 million Leo, that's it. Now, it may be 14 million on Hive engine and 16 million on Arbitrum. Actually, it's going to be 14 million on Hive engine, maybe 14 million on Arbitrum, a million on Ethereum, 500,000 on Polygon. I mean, we have Leo everywhere, but it's still, the supply is the supply, and whatever it is, and we're using 30 million just for the numbers of this call. If it's 30 million, that's it. They'll go back and forth between Hive engine and Arbitrum. They'll go back and forth between WLEO or between Ethereum and Polygon or Ethereum and Arbitrum. I mean, they can move it around. So, there's 29 million or 27 million, add another 2 million plus, whatever distribution and inflation. And you're basically looking at 29 and change, and that's it.
Yeah, we'll be right at 30. I think it'll be an even 30 million when we make this flip. So just anticipate the supply of Leo is 30 million. And by the way, we're destroying the ability for any more supply to be created. So what's actually going to happen is like the max supply on Hive engine, because it's Hive engine wrapped Leo, is going to get the anything above 30 million is going to get destroyed. So effectively it can never be more than 30 million. And then when Leo gets burned, this is actually kind of interesting. When Leo gets burned, it actually gets wherever it is, because it's, essentially like if Leo's on Arbitrum, it's native. So if it's Arbitrum Leo getting burned, then it just goes straight to the null address on Arbitrum. But for example, if the bridge collects a revenue from say B Leo to HE Leo, that Leo is collected as Hive engine Leo. And then that Hive engine Leo gets sent to the Arbitrum, the RB Leo Oracle, and then it makes its way to Arbitrum, and then it gets burned on Arbitrum. So effectively over time, all Leo will kind of assimilate to Arbitrum, which is the native Leo. So it's kind of interesting how that's going to work. You'll see it playing out in real time. Like Leo will slowly be migrated to Arbitrum in terms of the amount of like circulating supply. And then obviously anything getting burned is like, it literally just is like, take all the bridges are earning in their native, or not native, but like in their version of LEO. But then in order to actually burn it, it needs to move it to Arbitrum and then burn the Arbitrum LEO, because that's the native version. So kind of interesting how that works. But, I know a bunch of you in the AMA suggested that we add a page on LeoDex. So on the Leo page, which right now, if you go to leodex.io/Leo, it will show you the timer until Leo 2.0 goes live. Once Leo 2.0 is live, that page is going to be filled with the Leo dashboard, which will include all the features like staking, etc. One thing we're adding is, you guys suggested we add a burn counter. So it's going to show you the current supply of Leo and how much has been burned. So the current supply of Leo will start at 30 million on the day of 2.0. And then anytime anyone does a bridge transaction, that you'll see that burn counter go up. The way it's tracking that, and you guys can actually track it whenever you want. The way it's tracking that is it tracks the null address on RBScan or the Arbitrum blockchain. It's, if any Leo is sent to the null address on Arbitrum, that's obviously burned. So it will pull that API from RBScan, and you'll literally just be able to see how much Leo is burned from there.
And the bigger that number gets, people, the better it is for anybody holding Leo, because that means you start at 30 million. If it's 1 million, there's 29 million. If it's 2 million, we're down to 28 million. So this is where the deflationary aspect of the tokenomics comes in.
Yeah, and I don't expect this to be, I keep mentioning this, like I know a lot of people get excited about deflation and stuff like that, but I do find it exciting, but I don't think it's going to be like okay, we have this and now look, Leo's deflationary, the price went up 10x. I think it's more an effect of like, okay, well now Leo is steadily deflationary, because anytime anyone uses the bridge, a small amount of Leo is getting removed from the supply that can never come back. So you have a decreasing supply, and you hopefully have an increasing demand because LeoDex is growing and the volumes are growing, and then the other developments I mentioned on our roadmap are gathering traction. So you have an increasing demand, and the supply is steadily decreasing as the bridges get used. So like I said, I don't expect this to be like an overnight impact, but I do think it will be cool to see, like, a few years from now, when we look at the Leo burn counter, is a couple million Leo like completely gone from the supply. And I think that would be pretty exciting. It's just like, it's just the bridges operating. The bridges are operating. And like I said, the majority of users of the bridges are arbitragers. So really what's happening is the arbitragers are kind of like in a partnership with the bridge, where if they see a 10% price discrepancy between BLEO and, and HELEO, they buy the BLEO for 10% cheaper than it is on HELEO. They buy it, then they unwrap it into HELEO, and then they sell it, and they make that 10% spread. But the bridge charges a fee, just say 5%. The bridge charged a 5% fee for them to go from BLEO to HELEO. So they effectively got 5%, and then the Leo ecosystem just made 5% on that trade, because they're effectively in a partnership together. And that 5% gets burned. So the 5% that the Leo protocol earns is just removed from the supply. And that's all profit. I mean, it's pure profit. So, the bridges are really I think we have a really amazing design with the bridges. Like, I still haven't seen anybody else with something quite like what we've built in terms of the Leo bridging technology. The real reason why it doesn't have like a noticeable impact right now is because it's just subsidizing Leo.voter delegators right now in 1.0. But in 2.0, those bridges operating and doing well and facilitating a lot of bridging just are earning pure revenue and then burning those tokens. So I don't know. I'd love to see, if you get like 1 million Leo being bridged back and forth on all the different chains, and like I mentioned Ruggiero, like if we end up doing Ruggiero, that would essentially be another bridge. So, you have these bridges on these different chains, Leo's being, arbitraged on all these different chains, being moved around. Every time someone does a swap, it takes that small percent fee, and then it's just removing Leo from the supply. It's that pure profit just flows into increasing the burn. So, yeah, I mean, it's much different than an economy where you just like create tokens and burn them, which I have seen a lot of. That's not what we're doing. It's real revenue being generated and then just burning.
I can tell you one immediate impact of the flip to Leo 2.0 is you may not see a lot of tokens burned very quickly, but what you will see is the ceasing of any new tokens created. And that is huge from the second it happens, that here is the cap, 30 million. You will not have one more token than 30 million. And over time, it's going to keep decreasing. And that's huge. And I don't think that could be overstated enough.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, you mentioned the LEO, which is stake Leo on Arbitrum. Again, just with this idea, stop trying to think of this as separated. LEO is ArbLeo, that's staked. That's all it is. It did not create new tokens. You don't have a separate token. It's just taken. It's like high becoming high power. It doesn't add more. It just converts the form and the utility of the token. So I think we're caught up on most of the stuff. Cal, you got any other anything that you can think of that you didn't cover or didn't dig into?
No, I think there is a lot to cover. There's definitely some things I haven't covered yet. But I think headline wise, we covered everything. And then, like I said, the blog post is coming, and we'll have more AMAs and whatnot. So there'll be one more AMA before the 2.0 change actually goes live. It sounds like Mitch won't be able to make it, so I'll reach out to you, Tass, to see if you're available to do next Tuesday. But if you guys have questions, just tag me on Threads or on X and ask the questions. I know there's going to be a lot of questions out there. I'm just trying to give you guys as much of the information as I can.
Here's one from One Alpha, which she's asked before. Still waiting on promised explanation. What will happen to those 268,000 Leo in the WLEO pool wallet? Will Geyser ever erupt?
Yeah, I feel like I answer this question almost every day. I typed an answer to him also.
Okay.
I've always said, as long as you stay in the WLEO pool, they will once a distribution happens, you'll get the distribution that you are allocated for being in the pool. So, the regular distributions just aren't happening. But once the distributions do happen, you'll get that. And then we'll talk more about the Geyser in a 2.0 landscape later on. But it's just stay in the pool, and everything's gonna be fine.
It's just accumulating, and it'll be paid out.
It's just accumulating. Yeah, you can see that Leo gets paid to that WLEO.pool account, and it never goes anywhere. So it just sits there waiting for the distribution. So.
All right. Well, that about sums it up.
Yeah, Brando said, do you guys remember the time when Inlio would halt after 300 comments during the AMAs and threadcasts? It's not happening anymore. Yeah, we solved that a while back, and I was very happy that we did, because we would always get past 300 comments and then everything would crash. So yeah, we've made a lot of strides in refining the platform in terms of Inlio, and now we're ready to absorb the economic value of it into Leo while building out LeoDex, growing LeoDex, and absorbing economic value there. So that's really the key going forward. So I can't stress enough that this whole 2.0 plan really hinges on LeoDex succeeding. So LeoDex needs to succeed, and there is a critical way for you guys to be a part of that success, and that is go to leodex.io, go to the referrals page, generate your own unique referral ID. It's anywhere from 1 to 6 characters. Take that referral ID and the referral link you get, and get people to swap on LeoDex. Share that referral code, share that link, get people swapping on LeoDex, because growing the volume there is how we grow this ecosystem. So that is my PSA, is that this all will work amazingly if LeoDex grows. That is like the lead KPI for all of this. And I know, Tass, you're tracking the volume closely. I track the volume. I have it open in my monitor right here. I track it constantly, and I look at how can we grow this. So that is really the absolute key. So
I mean, just to give you an idea, Thor Wallet in earnings today, not volume, earnings, $29,430. Imagine $29,430 today just buying Leo.
it's wild. The market out there is insane. It's not like the things we're talking about are not crazy. Like they're happening. I mean, they're happening in front of your eyes. Like Tass said, almost 30 grand in a day on Thor Wallet. And if you look at like the weekly, it's crazy. Like Thor Swap did 100K. Thor Wallet did 185K this week. Asgard X did 50K this week. BitGet did 69K this week. There's seven interfaces did more than $50,000 in earnings this week. So this is not like if we break into the top 7, we're talking about $200,000 worth of Leo getting bought off the market each month. So pretty insane when you like sit and really think about the potential here. But again, potential. It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. I'm going to drop a screenshot because LeoDex is the number 15 UI for Thorchain in the past week. And we did $510,000 in volume this week. And that earned about $2.26 thousand in affiliate revenue. So like I keep saying, we're on a monthly basis right now. We're doing about $2 million a month, which is close to or is actually just about $10,000 a month in affiliate revenue. So we need to grow that. That's a really good starting place, though. Like, granted, in April we had $0 in volume. Now we're doing $2 million a month. So, and we're top 15. We were zero. Like we were not even in the race before. Now we're top 15. We're doing $2 million a month. We need to keep pushing. You guys probably have seen. I've been like living on X. I mean, it's. I still obviously post on Threads and I've been engaging with you guys as much as I can, but I've been like living on X to get people over to LeoDex. It's like my number one focus right now is making the best LeoDex product we can, and then being on X, being active and getting people onboarded to LeoDex and using it also while developing and designing all the new features and then developing and designing Leo 2.0. Which is, again, 2.0 is designed, like one of the best marketing tactics in crypto is to make your token succeed. So if Leo succeeds, I assume, maybe rightly, maybe wrongly, we'll have to see, that Leo succeeding will actually bring in a ton of new users to LeoDex just by nature. So, we'll have to see if I'm right about that assumption or not. I'm relatively confident about it. So, we'll just keep pushing the volumes. I mean, it's really key that we just keep pushing.
If I can add something, listen, obviously the first thing you need to do is be familiar with LeoDex, use it for your swaps. Anything under, I believe it's $150, you're not even charged a fee from LeoDex. Yeah, of course, have your other fees with your transaction fees for the blockchain and all that other stuff. But here's a simple thing. Like Cal said, get your referral code. Go take a screenshot of Xscanner. Go take a screenshot of some price quotes on LeoDex that actually turn into a profit where you get more money back than you do putting in based on the swap, which can happen because of the arbitrage. And then just throw those on X or throw it on Facebook or whatever your social media is with your referral code. And just say, look, LeoDex is growing, and hashtag crypto or whatever you want to do. Just get screenshots out there, get pictures out there, get your referral code out there, and who knows who might sign up, who might see it.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. You got to just be out there and be, in the trenches doing it. I mean, that's really the only way. You'll see that that's literally what I'm doing. I'm eating my own dog food as much as I can by showing you guys. Like, go look at my account on X, and go look at the LeoDex account as well. Like, I've probably been posting an average of 100 plus tweets per day. So, I'm out there trying to get people onto LeoDex in any way possible. sharing my referral code. I think I was like the top 3 referrer to LeoDex. And by the way, we have seen a very low amount of activity on the referral side of things. Like, there was some new user that created a referral code and he made like $900 last month in earnings. So I don't know if you guys saw that post on X, but $900 in earnings from referring people to LeoDex. And he's not even a part of the Leo ecosystem. He just joined recently. So it's the potential's out there to not only grow the Leo ecosystem, but for you to earn a massive amount of rewards just by referring people. Earning $1,000 a month is very possible. So I want to show you guys a screenshot of that guy because I just pulled it up. Here we go. $900. His referral code is VGAY. And I'm not really sure, kind of where he came from, but, he's bringing in a very significant amount. And then I'm number 3 on there. I made $250 last month in referral rewards. And that gets paid as Rune, by the way. Rune, if it's a Thorchain swap, Cacao if it's a Maya swap, and USDC if it's a chain flip swap. So I'm sharing this screenshot right now. But, the top 5 referrers, I think 2 or 3 of them are me on different addresses because like I said, I'm making like 100 tweets a day to bring people to LeoDex. But the top person is VGAY. He's, he's someone I've never even encountered. I don't even know who he is. I just know his referral ID. So, if he's capable of doing $1,000 in or $900 in affiliate rewards for himself, what are you capable of as a hardcore lion? So really think about it and grow the Leo ecosystem while helping yourself. I don't think we can make a better value proposition than that. And I see Task out there on X. So you guys should get out there and get active.
Yeah, and follow the LeoDex account. Upvote LeoDex X posts. Forward them, comment on them. Anything to help the algorithm, is a bonus. And anybody, if you have Leo in your wallet, this is the point. You have a vested interest in everything we've said here today.
Yep. Yeah, it's time to step up is now.
Yeah, gone are the days of, well, I'm a lion because I post on Leo and then I get rewarded in Leo and I go sell my Leo. Those days are done. You want to be a lion? You got to be a part of it.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, like I said, there's so many things to talk about. There's so many more changes that I feel like we still haven't even covered. But we've been going for over almost 2 hours and 15 minutes now. So I think it's a good time to jump and wrap up. But again, the blog post will get posted when we jump off of this. So look out for the blog post. By the way, we created a new medium. I haven't really announced it anywhere yet, but we posted our first article there. A lot of people in the broader crypto space use Medium. So I'm going to drop you a link to the Medium article. You can follow LeoDex on there. We're gonna add our own URL on because Medium lets you do that. So follow that Medium account and share those articles. We're gonna start posting there pretty regularly with our blog posts. So yeah, keep sharing LeoDex. I mean, it just can't be stressed enough how important it is to grow the volumes. The team will keep building and refining LeoDex. We've got a lot of features coming. Like I said, a big one today will be the ability to trade BLEO and PLEO because we have a lot of people interested in trading Leo that can't do it on Maya right now. So we'll release that today. And then a bunch of bug fixes actually got released right before we jumped on this. So we're releasing something new pretty much every single day. So I can't stress enough how important it is. It's so important to grow the volume. That is the KPI. So you want Leo to succeed, grow the LeoDex volume. And Leo 2.0, you can now see the counter on leodex.io/Leo. So you can track that, keep that open in your browser, and just see, you can see in real time, the 7-day countdown from now for when LEO 2.0 actually goes live. All the changes are in place. So we're kind of lining up all the dominoes right now, so that, on that day, it just happens, and inflation gets turned off, and author curator rewards switch to buybacks only. Yeah, that's LEO 2.0. There's a lot more details that we didn't cover, like intricate details or really specific things. And I put an FAQ section in that post as well. So it tries to cover as much ground as it can. And then you guys can, like I said, always tag me, tag the @LeoDex account on X. Don't be afraid to ask questions on X. If you tag me or LeoDex on X, it can often be a really good way because if you have the question, then a lot of other people might also have that question. So don't be afraid to tag me and LeoDex, and we'll answer it on X, and then probably repost it so that other people can see the answer as well. That's all I got. Task, any closing thoughts from you?
Nope, I just threw a tweet out on X, so just take screenshots of LeoDex or Xscanner or anything you can and just talk about it.
And I'm retweeting you right now. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming to this. I know it was a really long episode. Thanks Task for co-hosting. Thanks Mitch who left earlier to catch a flight, for jumping in and co-hosting as well. Yeah, thanks to everybody who kind of floated in and out. I saw some cross-chain people were here earlier. Obviously a very long session, so I don't blame anybody for kind of being in and out. Yeah, a lot of things happening with this 2.0 launch. A lot of like background things, like the apps and the usage of the apps really remains the same, but a lot of the back end of things changes, and the capturing of value changes. So hopefully we start seeing the impacts of that. I think we're going to start seeing. I think we're already kind of seeing it right now, like with speculation at least. But then once these 2.0 changes are live a week from today, hopefully we see a lot of even better things on the horizon. I'm really, I hope it kind of showed throughout this, but I'm really excited about it. So I think it's a great step forward for our community and ecosystem. So thanks everybody for coming. Keep your eyes open for the blog post, and stay active on X, and bring people to LeoDex. See you soon.